We're running a few minutes behind, so we're hoping that others will join. Um, but we will get started. And so today we want to continue our work around the issue of challenges presented with Social Security in the nation, and particularly today in the lives of African Americans. And so today is the actual anniversary of the Social Security Act. Social Security turns 90 and is, in fact, the consistently strong program that deals with keeping people out of poverty. And so we want to look today at Social Security's future, the impact of the One Big Bill, and the challenges facing African American seniors and their families. And so we welcome you on behalf of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the South Los Angeles Clergy for Public Accountability, and the Empowerment Congress in association with the Raising Cane's movement. And I think I see Dusky here. We're glad she's on the line. We want to say welcome. We're convening this meeting to learn about Social Security and the impact of this country's most successful anti-poverty program and what the program is now facing. All right, bless you. All right. Issues of financial solvency and the impact Social Security has on African American families, or seniors rather, their families and our congregations, because so many of us are leading congregations that are aging. It's important for us to understand. So we welcome and thank you for attending this gathering. Please bear with us. We're trying something different today in this briefing. We're going to lean heavily into the use of technological platforms to furnish you with information that you might continue on learning and informing yourself about this issue. So we're not quite sure how well it will work. So we are asking that you give us your patience. We're pleased that Pastor Smart, President and CEO of SCLC, Southern California, is with us, and we're asking him to give us the invocation.
Thank you, Pastor Johnson. Let us pray. We stop to thank you today for the significance of this day. A lot of things have happened to lead to this day 90 years ago when this Social Security Act was put in place. It has been helpful, vital, important, or protective to those that are in need particularly. But for the aging, this security has met more than just protection. It has met that they will survive. And so now we pray, Lord, that in the midst of the political gesturing that this country is going through right now, Social Security must survive. We call on you to move in the hearts of all of those that deal with this every day. It must survive, and your grace and your mercy will allow that to happen. We thank you for those of that have put this together today. Help us to understand, help us with the knowledge that we may move forward saying Social Security must survive. In thy name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you. While we're here, the matter is so urgent for us that we are convening at 10 a.m. on a Thursday with so little notice. Well, the urgency prompts this because Black faith leaders in particular must forge a common understanding of the role played by Social Security in our lives, families, congregations, and communities. How we understand and characterize the problems facing Social Security will provide direction we need to prepare for the future. Black faith leaders must reestablish and reassert the leadership of the church as a safe space to understand the needs of seniors, their families, matters such as financial literacy, education, leadership development, social justice, advocacy. Black faith leaders must recognize the urgency of advocacy to protect Social Security as it represents a critical issue. And we must, in fact, address the issue of insolvency and the attacks on the social safety net. How do we understand the problem? The projected insolvency of Social Security, and I'm not sure if that slide is on the screen.
Yeah, I'm having a little technical difficulty. Bear with me.
All right.
It's an operator error.
Well, we did ask you for patience. We gave you a bit of forewarning. All right. Thank you. The projected insolvency of Social Security and the potential impact of cuts to benefits could be substantial on the disposable income and standard of living and the quality of life of African American seniors and their families. You can see that insolvency refers to a business or enterprise that can no longer fully pay its obligations or debts. And it's important that we do not equate insolvency with bankruptcy. Today, we're talking about insolvency. The cuts to Social Security pose a threat to intergenerational wealth accumulation and transfer, and the continued erosion of Black income and wealth accumulation, which poses an existential threat even to the church, to the community as such, but even to the church as an independent community institution. And those of us who give leadership in churches understand what happens as our churches have aged, our memberships, congregants have aged, and what this does in terms of the church's ability to be strong and to provide the kinds of services, ministries, and leadership that is so much needed. What I'd like to do now is to have a brief round of introductions. And so we ask that you would introduce yourselves, and we can start with Bishop Smith.
Yes, good morning, Dr. Johnson. I'm Bishop Byron L. Smith, Sr., the senior pastor of Gethsemane Christian Love Missionary Baptist Church, and also executive board member of the Empowerment Congress.
All right. Feel free, just.
Anybody?
Good morning. My name is Karen Robinson. I'm with United Parents and Students. And yes, I got that message maybe a couple of minutes before I hopped on. So thank you for the invite.
All right.
Good morning, Rudy Richardson from Girls Club of Los Angeles. Thank you for the invitation. Like Miss Karen said, I saw the invite a little while ago and decided to hop on. Thank you. Glad to be here.
And I'm Dusky Wanamaker. Good morning. I'm not going to show my face. I'm the Raising Cane's movement organizer, and I'm in the hospital with a broken hip. I got a new hip now, so I do not want y'all to see my face. But good morning, everyone.
Well, good morning.
Much healing to you, Dusky, and give you reason to get a new cane, huh?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Joanne Russell. I'm the founding director for Let's Make It Happen and a longtime EC member. And thank you for putting this together.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Dr. Mary S. Minor,
Yes.
the pastor of Brookins Kirkland Community CME Church in Los Angeles.
All right. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Time. Well, my clothing line is called Time. It stands for Teaching Young Minds Every Day. I'm an advocate for a lot of different things when it comes to not only like today is like Stand with Crypto Day, but it's also like I do things with like suicide prevention. I've been been an advocate for a lot of things in LA when it comes to things for people with disabilities. I'm a part of a lot of different communities, helping like communities like Altadena with the fire and the Palisades, and continually thank you for holding this and continue giving information.
Well, thank you for being with us. Who's next?
Bengi Kuti, Protect Our Seniors, and the campaign to save MLK Hospital.
Thank you.
My name is Anya Williams. I am a marketing and communications consultant and a leadership team member of the Empowerment Congress. Glad to be here.
Thank you for being here.
Hi, my name is Rachel. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Hi. Hi, I'm Arnetta Mack. I'm a small business owner with the LA County Small Business Commission and also the Southern Christian Leadership Conference of Southern California.
Great, great.
How you guys doing? Coach Ron. I take care of homeless seniors in Skid Row and in Pasadena, Altadena area.
Yes. Thank you for being here.
Okay. Hi, I'm Rachel Smith. I own the non-emergent transportation business based in the Inland Empire called Joy for the Journey. I am here hopefully in anticipation of making valuable contacts and community contacts and networking amongst you all, and to listen in on the conversation. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. All right.
So good morning. I'm Delora Ellis Gann. I serve as the president of Los Angeles County's African American Employees Association, which is an association about 1,300 members in various county departments. So, and a proud resident of the 2nd District. So thank you for allowing me to be here today.
Yes, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Eleanor Vaughn. I know I put in the chat that my microphone wasn't working, but I fixed it. My name is Eleanor Vaughn. I'm the Executive Director of the Housing Authority for the City of Santa Paula in Ventura County. I'm a former board member of Empowerment Congress before I got married and moved to Ventura County. So I'm so glad to be a part of the Empowerment Congress when I can. So I got information about this and decided to join. It's good to see everyone.
Well, thank you for being here from Ventura County. All right.
Good morning, Dr. Shawnee Byard. I'm an empowerment coach and inclusive leadership consultant for Legacy Refresh and a member of the Leadership Council for Empowerment Congress. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning. Anyone else? All right, we have a lot to cover, and so we're going to move into the further into the program this morning. Start with the question, how did we get here? President Trump's campaign promises known as Agenda 47 and the implementation of Project 2025 are the main reasons that we're here. Since January, the president has undertaken an effort to reshape both the government and society. The speed and even the recklessness has produced significant fear, distress, and anxiety. So let's start with a brief summary of Agenda 47's promises regarding Social Security. All right.
Okay, Grandpa Frank here with Agenda 47, Part 6, Protect Seniors. Our commitment, President Trump has made absolutely clear that he will not cut one penny from Medicare or Social Security. American citizens work hard their whole lives contributing to Social Security and Medicare. These programs are promised to our seniors, ensuring they can live their golden years with dignity. Republicans will protect these vital programs and ensure economic stability. We will work with our great seniors in order to allow them to be active and healthy. We commit to safeguarding the future for our seniors and all American families. 1, protect Social Security. Social Security is the lifeblood for millions of retirees, yet corrupt politicians have robbed Social Security to fund their pet projects. Republicans will restore economic stability to ensure the long-term sustainability of Social Security. 2, strengthen Medicare. Republicans will protect Medicare's finances from being financially crushed by the Democrat plan to add tens of millions of new illegal immigrants to the rolls of Medicare. We vow to strengthen Medicare for future generations. 3, support active and healthy living. Republicans will support increased focus on chronic disease prevention and management, long-term care, and benefit flexibility. We will expand access to primary care and support policies that help seniors remain in their homes and maintain financial security. 4, protect care at home for the elderly. Republicans will shift resources back to at-home senior care, overturn disincentives that lead to care workers shortages, and support unpaid family caregivers through tax credits and reduced red tape. 5, protect economic foundations for supporting seniors. Republicans will tackle inflation, unleash American energy, restore economic growth, and secure our borders to preserve Social Security and Medicare funding for the next generation and beyond. We will ensure these programs remain solvent long into the future by reversing harmful Democrat policies and unleashing a new economic boom.
All right.
So Pastor
have-
Johnson, there's some additional context
Yeah.
that we want to share with the participants in this meeting, because what you heard was what the Trump administration committed itself to.
However, the economic winds are blowing. Some 90 years, Social Security has been a vital financial safety net for older Americans. Now, as David Poe tells us, many people are wondering just how safe that safety net is.
Social Security recipients are dealing with an unbelievable amount of chaos.
Social Security. If you qualify for Medicare and Medi-Cal, Kaiser Permanente has a plan for you with extra perks, including
When
a
that
Medicaid
happens.
care coordinator.
Yeah.
Visit kp.org/partner to see if you qualify. Kaiser Permanente has been getting a lot of attention lately, and not the good kind.
We paid it in, and now we want to take it out and live with dignity.
The Social Security Administration was already at its smallest size in 50 years when earlier this year, Elon Musk's Doge team cut another 14% of its employees, 7,000 people.
The chainsaw for bureaucracy.
Frank Risignano is President Trump's new Social Security commissioner. In an interview with CBS Evening News last spring, he insisted that the cuts won't affect people's ability to collect their benefits.
We're bringing a massive technology effort to transform the servicing agenda. We're going to bring AI into the phone system. I intend it to be completed this year.
I'm getting calls now all the time from people that can't get through on the telephone, from people that can't get appointments in the field offices. And it will, in some cases, delay benefits. This is a very tough thing for millions of Americans.
Michael Astor was the commissioner of the Social Security Administration under George W. Bush and Barack Obama. He takes particular issue with something Musk often said about Social Security before he left the government in May. Elon Musk keeps saying that hundreds of billions of dollars are going to illegal immigrants.
He's just lying. That's one of the most ridiculous things I've heard anyone say in Washington. He's got it exactly backwards. So they pay in, but they don't collect.
In fact, what experts worry about is not fraud, which the agency itself estimates is below 1/100th of 1% of payouts. It's the Social Security time bomb.
This Social Security measure gives at least some protection to 30 millions of our citizens.
President Franklin Roosevelt created the program in 1935 during the Great Depression as a safety net to help keep Americans out of poverty. The idea was that the government would take a small piece out of every worker's paycheck and pay it to people reaching retirement age. Today, those checks average about $2,000 a month, and they're the primary source of income for 40% of older Americans.
If Social Security were not here, you'd have about 22 million Americans who would be considered poor under the federal standards.
For years, this all worked pretty well. Social Security became America's biggest government program, Today, it pays $1.6 trillion in retirement, disability, and survival benefits to 73 million Americans. But when World War II ended, there was a shock to the system.
Post-war America, with a building boom and a baby boom.
And all those baby boomer babies got older. Now, there are a lot more people getting money from the system and a lot fewer people paying in. And we started living longer. In FDR's day, the average age of death in America was 63 years old. Today, it's 77. That's 14 years more payments per person.
You will hear a lot of people saying there will be no Social Security for you. And that's, in all likelihood, not true. So if Congress does nothing, they'll get about 80% of what they get now. And that will be a significant hit for a lot of Americans.
That hit is expected to arrive in 2033. That's 8 years from now. We've seen this moment coming for years. All kinds of solutions have been kicked around. We could increase the tax a little. We could shrink the payments a little. We could delay the retirement age, which is now defined as 62. Or if you're a high earner, today you're taxed on only the first portion of your income. So we could tax more of your income by raising that cap or eliminating it altogether. Finally, we could invest your Social Security contributions in the stock market instead of treasury bills. But that's really risky. A market crash could wipe the whole thing out overnight.
Then
Astro expects it'll be some combination of those ideas.
the likelihood is that Congress will panic right toward the deadline. There will be some cuts in benefits and there'll be some increase in taxation.
In the meantime, Astro worries about the more immediate problem, the indiscriminate cuts.
The way they're doing it, which is just meat-axe cuts that are fairly random, is not the way. It's actually going to impair the agency's ability to make productive changes.
And to be clear, you are a Republican?
I am. I voted for President Trump. So I'm all for change, but I'm all for intelligent change. And the people who are trying to drive this change don't understand the system. I don't think they care.
It takes 90 seconds for this NASA-engineered AC cool down your room. It's smaller than a toaster. Cools any room in 90.
All right. Thank you.
We have one more, Pastor Johnson.
Okay. All right.
And on the path to passing the massive spending bill, GOP leaders worked overnight, and the president himself, even leaning on a handful of skeptics, to drop their opposition and vote for the bill. Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries delayed voting by holding the floor for more than 8 hours with a record-breaking speech against the bill. ABC's Zareen Shah has the latest.
Tonight, President Trump declaring on social media, "Congratulations, America."
It's going to make this country into a rocket ship.
After a bruising political fight, the president's signature mega spending bill barely making it through the House.
This vote, the yeas are 218, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
Inside President Trump's own party, alarm over the bill's massive price tag. Nonpartisan estimates say it could swell the national debt by $3.4 trillion and roll back Medicaid in a way that could cost nearly 12 million Americans their health coverage. The White House disputes those projections.
It wasn't beautiful enough for me to vote for it.
In the end, just 2 Republicans voted no. The bill includes nearly $4 trillion in tax breaks, mostly benefiting high earners, along with fresh money for border enforcement. It also wipes out taxes on tips and overtime, a major Trump campaign promise, and guts Biden-era climate policies. To pay for it, the legislation slashes Medicaid and reduces food assistance programs. Democrats strongly opposing the bill.
Shame on this institution if this bill passes. That's not America. We're better than this.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries speaking for a record-breaking 8 hours and 44 minutes on the House floor in a marathon protest. And tonight, President Trump in Iowa touting his hard-fought win.
There could be no better birthday present for America than the phenomenal victory we achieved just hours ago when Congress passed the one big, beautiful bill to make America great again.
Zori Shah, ABC News, Los Angeles.
I apologize for that, you guys. Thank you, Tanya, for letting me know I forgot to put the share screen on. Okay, Pastor Johnson.
All right, well, as we've indicated, this is, we're in process on this. The last video focused on the impact of the big, beautiful bill. And in response to that, there were protests. And one of the leading groups, seniors, the Raising Cane's group, emerged in response to concerns about the potential for additional cuts to Social Security started by DOGE, and threatened by past attempts to fundamentally alter Social Security. Raising Cane's goals, and we're pleased again that Dusky Wanamaker is here. The goals of this group are to defend Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, oppose tax cuts for the rich, financed by benefit reductions, end income inequality at the expense of working class Black families, seniors, and children, demand equity and accountability from all our elected representatives. Economic justice is overdue, and to insist on unequivocal support for the full funding and defense of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. 2 protests and informational pickets have been held in the Crenshaw Social Security Administration office in South Los Angeles, several others in Burbank, Westwood, and elsewhere in the Valley and throughout the country have been held. And here's a clip of the protest at Crenshaw.
Come on, you're gonna end up taking a whole hour.
When they say cut, when they say cut.
Have you ever seen the magic glasses that can see clearly without glasses?
Guess I'm gonna have to get Google Bring
You
you.
can not only see far away.
When they say cut, when they say cut, for the least, the lost, and the left out. Don't come in my way. Shut them down. When they save our immigrants. Save our food banks.
Hey, Reverend Johnson.
All right, we want to, at this point, and think it'll be a little bit easier on Vincent. To have Vincent to walk us through this portion of the presentation.
Thank you, Pastor Johnson, and thank you everyone for joining the call. We know that we initiated this with relatively little notice, although it did reflect some planning for a couple of weeks. We decided to pursue an approach where we would furnish this briefing by just looking at some news clips and deploying some of the technology that is available to us. At this time, what I'd like to do is share with you what we consider to be the keynote sort of presentation for this whole effort to inform people about what's going on with regard to Social Security. So the title of this video is the U.S. running out of Social Security? And we'd like you to check it out, but pay particular attention to how the issues are characterized.
Social Security is in trouble.
The program is quickly running out of cash.
Millennials and younger don't believe that they're going to get a penny of Social Security.
As a millennial, this has been my introduction to Social Security.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
Security. It's like the government pulls some money from my paycheck and then it goes into some imaginary fund that maybe I'll never see again. The truth is, I know embarrassingly little about this program that most Americans rely on for retirement. Before you go and dive into the comments, it seems nobody gets it. This poll looks at people near the retirement age who are about to start collecting it. But rather than succumb to the void like I want to, I read entirely too much about it so you don't have to. So what is Social Security? And is it actually doomed? It's really hard to overstate how important Social Security is.
The official name of Social Security is the Old Age Survivors and Disability Insurance Program.
It can kind of be broken down into three parts. Most people are familiar with the old age one. That's retirement.
It's the biggest source of income for most retirees.
See this chart? Actually, here's an updated one. In 2022, this program alone was responsible for keeping nearly 16.5 million older Americans above the poverty line.
But it's also so important for families. It supports people when a parent or a spouse dies. You know, when they're still working age, it supports people if they become disabled and are not able to continue working and supporting their families.
Thus, the need. Every U.S. worker pays into Social Security via payroll tax.
Well over 90% of American workers just pay 6.2% of their wages out of every paycheck into Social Security, and then their employers pay another 6.2%.
There is a cap on this tax, though, as in if you make more than a certain amount of money, the government's only going to tax a portion of it for Social Security.
Cap this year is $168,600.
Still with me, or are you sinking into the void of financial lingo? Come back. We're almost there. Now, you can literally look at your pay stub and see where the Social Security tax comes out. This money goes into 2 trust funds managed by the federal government and is then used to pay out the people who are currently collecting, typically in the form of monthly checks. When you retire, the size of that check is determined by the average of how much you've made throughout your working life and the age you start to collect. As of now, retirees can start collecting at age 62, but they won't max out the benefit unless they wait until they're 70. So to recap, current workers pour money into trust funds, and those trust funds are used to pay out current beneficiaries. As long as people are working, this tax is being paid and there will always be money in those funds. So why does everybody keep saying it's being drained?
So the reason that Social Security faces a long-term financing shortfall is the aging of the population.
In other words, boomers. Here's a chart of the US population. As you can see, there's a bump here. That's the baby boomer generation. For decades, this giant population was the main workforce that paid into Social Security. That means more people were putting money in than taking money out. So those trust funds that we talked about earlier had a surplus, and the US Treasury took that extra money and invested it. And those investments ultimately gave us a $2.9 trillion reserve. Then came 2021. At this point, Social Security stopped operating in a surplus and actually fell into a deficit because more and more people started to collect.
We just don't have quite as many workers supporting each beneficiary as we used to.
But it's fine right now because 2.9 trillion is a nice pile of money that's been supplementing the shortfall. So every Social Security check a beneficiary gets right now is kind of made up of two things. About 80% of that is the trust funds that are being filled by everyone still working, and about 20% is coming from that $2.9 trillion surplus. And that surplus is what's predicted to run out by 2033.
And then after that point, about 10 years from now, there is some uncertainty about what will happen.
What won't happen is a total drain of Social Security. There will always be benefits in some form.
It may look different from the Social Security benefits that are paid now, but there's really no question of whether Social Security benefits will be paid far into the future.
What those benefits look like entirely depends on how Congress decides to restructure the program to get over this baby boomer conundrum.
This episode is presented by Metro by T-Mobile. This tax season, Metro wants to help customers avoid wasting dollars by using their tax refunds to catch up on things. Thousand Metro stores nationwide. Now back to the video.
So there are two options for restructuring the program. Let's talk about the top 5 in a very bland and unbiased way. Starting with the high earners.
Well, a lot of really wealthy people, they don't get their money through salaries. Like I make more in a salary than Jeff Bezos does, for example. And so he pays less in Social Security than I do.
Thanks, Jeff. At least one bill is fighting to add a Social Security tax to high investment income, which is where a lot of rich people make and keep their money. Then there's this. We could remove or change that $168,000 salary cap.
The most popular option is to change the payroll tax cap. You know, either to get rid of it altogether or to raise it so that it covers more of, high wage people's earnings.
These next two send people into a rage, but they are kind of the most obvious. Raising the payroll tax would immediately start pumping more money into Social Security and help offset the imbalance of beneficiaries and workers. And cutting the amount each person can actually receive would balance those scales even further. But this is wildly unpopular across party lines and with the public. Granted, if Congress were to do nothing, in 2033, benefits would automatically decrease. And this option? You've probably heard this before. It did not go over well in France.
Raising the full retirement age is a benefit cut, full stop for everybody. It means 7% lower benefits over a lifetime on average for each year that you raise the retirement age.
It's hard to predict exactly what Congress will do, but it's very likely they'll wait until the 11th hour to do it.
Because nobody really likes passing a benefit cut or a tax increase. For today's workers, the options are not a lot of fun. I mean, it's either you pay more or you get less or some combination thereof.
No matter what choice or combination of choices is made, there will be losers. Of all the things we can't agree on in the US, it's clear that across party lines and all ages, people value Social Security.
One of the beauties of the Social Security program is it's sort of like we're all in this together. We're all funding these benefits, we're all benefiting from them. And it's kind of a compact between generations to take care of each other when we face retirement, death, or disability.
So I understand that there's an echo and I've been trying to resolve it on my end. I'm using two machines and I'm hearing the reverb. I've been trying to adjust the volume and the settings to deal with it, but obviously to no avail, so I apologize. The next time we do this, we will have that technological problem resolved. Again, we appreciate your patience, and just know that we're getting feedback, and we are pleased that you are able to put up with the obvious technological challenges that I'm confronting.
So Vincent,
Yes,
if you have both systems in the same room, you just need to mute one of them.
I have.
Mute one of them.
Yes.
No, it doesn't show mute. It shows that you have lowered the volume of one of them.
I see.
There you go.
Is this better?
Yes, sir. That's it.
Dr. Miner in the house. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it a great deal. So I'm an aging boomer that was already retired during the COVID period where we went to this virtual thing. So I'm relatively late to the party and didn't have a bunch of young people around to assist me, around my household to assist me with this stuff. But thank you very much. What I do know, however, is that in my effort to conduct research for this and other projects, I have relied fairly heavily on Google searches for information. And when we were discussing the overall agenda for this meeting, the program, we wanted to focus on the particular impact that Social Security plays on the African American community. Because we know that Social Security plays such a prominent and significant role in furnishing income to our seniors and to those who receive survivors benefits and to children. And we know that a disproportionate percentage of the African American community relies on Social Security. We wanted to give it that sort of focus. So I started looking around for folks who could speak to that issue. And as time passed, it was becoming too close to the too close to the date that we wanted to host this, that is today, for me to reliably send out an invitation without embarrassing myself with one of those situations where, hey man, I'd love to do it, but you contacted me 48 hours ago and I have other things planned. So we decided that we would try to lean into the AI and Google search options that are available to us to obtain information. And so we began to ask questions of Google like, what role does Social Security play in retirement security for the Black community? And one of the things that we discovered was that someone, not sure who, had already posed that question, gotten the response generated by the artificial intelligence mechanism that Google uses and put it to a narration. And so what I want to do is share with you the video that responds to that question. Now, it doesn't have any actors or anything like that. It's just basically playing the recorded response of the narrative produced by AI.
What role does Social Security play in retirement security for the Black community? In today's economic climate, many are asking how Social Security impacts retirement security for the Black community. With recent discussions surrounding financial stability, understanding this topic is crucial. Social Security serves as a foundational income source for many retirees, but it is not without its challenges. Historically, African Americans have faced economic hurdles that influence their Social Security benefits. Lower lifetime earnings and higher unemployment rates contribute to reduced benefits. This means that many may not receive the financial support they need in retirement. Additionally, health disparities affect the Black community's longevity. Many African Americans face health challenges that can limit their lifespan. This impacts their ability to fully benefit from Social Security, as they may not live long enough to receive maximum payouts. Access to health care is another vital factor. Programs like Medicare, which are often linked to Social Security, are essential for older adults. However, limited access to health care can complicate retirement planning for those in the Black community. Racial and economic segregation also plays a role. Many individuals may not have access to the resources or information necessary to navigate retirement planning effectively. This lack of understanding can lead to missed opportunities in maximizing Social Security benefits. Advocacy efforts are critical to address these disparities. Ensuring that Social Security policies are equitable is essential for supporting African American retirees. By focusing on these issues, we can work towards creating more effective retirement strategies for the Black community. It is vital to understand the broader context of economic and racial disparities that influence retirement security. With the right information and resources, we can help improve the financial future for many. Addressing these challenges is not just about individual benefits. It is about creating a more equitable system for everyone.
So what'd you think about that? Just typed in the question, and that was the response. So check this out.
Is Social Security income the primary source of income for Black retirees? In recent discussions, many are asking whether Social Security income serves as the main financial support for Black retirees. This topic has gained traction as more individuals seek to understand retirement income sources. Social Security income is indeed a major source of income for many Black retirees, often serving as their primary financial support during retirement. Research indicates that Black Americans generally have lower retirement savings compared to non-Black Americans, even among higher earners. For example, a recent study found that Black workers, including those with incomes above $75,000, are less likely to have saved for retirement and tend to have lower total savings than their non-Black counterparts. This gap in personal retirement savings means Social Security benefits frequently become the main income source for Black retirees. The reliance on Social Security is tied to historical and ongoing economic challenges, affecting the ability of many Black Americans to accumulate sufficient retirement assets. These challenges include disparities in wages, access to employer-sponsored retirement plans, and wealth accumulation opportunities. Consequently, Social Security plays a critical role in providing a baseline income for retirement within the African American community. It is important to note that Social Security benefits themselves face future uncertainty, with warnings of potential benefit cuts if legislative action is not taken. Such reductions could disproportionately impact Black retirees who depend heavily on these benefits. Social Security income often stands as the primary source of income for Black retirees due to lower retirement savings and wealth accumulation. This highlights the importance of strategies that address these financial gaps in African American retirement planning. As more individuals seek information on this topic, it is essential to understand the broader implications of relying on Social Security for retirement.
So as I continue to work with Pastor Johnson and others on this presentation, we thought, well, maybe it would be a good idea for us to demonstrate how, how it could actually work in real time as we are seeking to understand what's going on. So, we decided to do this. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
So I already wrote this out, but as you can see, it says, how many African Americans are older than 65 in Los Angeles County? So the information is available to us pretty readily if we know what questions we want to pose, and we can almost customize the response based on the wording of the question. So I didn't have to look up a bunch of different websites to try to get a response. What I got was I posed the question, and the artificial intelligence engine of Google provided a response and had links to information that I could subsequently look up to validate. Now, these are Wikipedia entries, and we shouldn't trust Wikipedia necessarily. However, if you do go to Wikipedia, those footnotes identify the sources of information. The footnotes in their presentation in Wikipedia identify the sources of information, and you can determine whether those sources are accurate or not. Note that it comes with a disclaimer. AI responses may include mistakes, and you can learn more by clicking to it. But more substantively, will be the sources that you can look at that may provide information that can validate the information that exists in the AI engine. So I thought, well, this is interesting. We've been talking about Social Security. We've been talking about what some of the options are for addressing the issues associated with solvency of the trust fund. So I said, well, how much revenue would Social Security, the Social Security Trust Fund, receive if that cap that was discussed earlier on Social Security taxes were removed for high income earners? Remember in those presentations, they said, well, one of the options is to increase the payroll tax. Another related to increasing the payroll tax was to remove the cap on Social Security taxes that are paid by people who make more than $176,000 per year. So I posed the question, how much revenue would the Social Security Trust Fund receive if the cap were removed on high-income earners? Oh, it's going to generate significant revenue. Well, how significant is the revenue? Eliminating the cap will provide benefit credit for those earnings, would generate an estimated $3.2 trillion in additional revenue over 10 years. This would address approximately 53% of the projected 75-year funding gap. 75-year funding gap. They're not talking about 2033 or 2034. They're talking about over the next 75 years. And would push potentially the trust fund's depletion date to 2055. Another proposal analyzed by the trustees suggests that taxing wage income over $250,000 in addition to the amount below the existing count option would get $2.7 trillion in over 10 years. So let's be clear, 2.7 trillion over 10 years is $270 billion per year. Now, a lot of people won't do that math in their heads, right? So how much revenue would the Social Security Trust Fund receive? Let's type in annually. It still makes you do the math. But it gives you even more information. And it cites sources. These sources, by the way, are Republican sources, or I should say conservative think tank sources. And then it says, go to the Social Security Administration Office's chief actuary. What's important about that point is that because of the way in which the current administration views employees within the administration, they maintain that everybody who works for Social Security works for the administration. And as such, the president can hire and fire people at will. So who occupies this actuary position will be important in shaping the discussion about what needs to happen going forward. I want to demonstrate one more time how this situation about taxes can help shape the discussion. I posed the question to Google, how much would the payroll taxes have to increase to retain solvency of the Social Security Trust Fund? Remember earlier in the presentations and the videos, they said, well, you know, we may have to increase the payroll taxes on employees. That was assuming that $176,000 cap, okay? It didn't assume that the cap would be raised. It just assumed that we don't raise the cap and we just try to meet the shortfall in funding of the trust fund by simply raising taxes on all workers at the current level. I mean, who are currently eligible to receive taxes. And this is the response. A 29% increase would be required. 3.65%. And then that assumes that it would happen sooner rather than later. A delayed payroll tax increase would see that 3.65 percentage point increase go up to 4.27%. So that illustrates the power that artificial intelligence has in our ability to obtain the information that we need in order to help shape the discussion, in order to shape the debate around the future of Social Security. And so what our task is, as folks who are concerned about the impact cuts to Social Security may have on the discretionary disposable income of African American households, we then have to take responsibility for using AI to shape that conversation and to do it cleverly and in real time. Before I conclude, what I'd like to do is show one additional video.
Here's the real reason Social Security is in danger that nobody's talking about. It's not just because too many boomers like me are retiring. It's because of inequality. Now, I don't want to alarm you. Social Security is still helping us oldies enjoy our golden years, mostly on the pickleball court, but only for so long. Social Security is one of the most popular and successful government programs ever created, not only helping retirees, but it's also keeping 26 million people out of poverty. Yet here's the problem. It's going to run out of money before you can ever receive it if the rich don't start paying their fair share. The trustees of Social Security, of which yours truly was once a member back when I had thicker hair, say the program will only be able to pay full benefits until 2033. After that, Social Security will only be able to dole out roughly 77% of benefits. Why? It's not the reason that many seem to think.
And we're going to have more and more baby boomers who are going to be collecting Social Security.
Boomer retirees like me might be soaking up some sun, but we're not soaking up all of the program's funds. The Social Security trustees anticipated the boom in boomer retirements. This is why Social Security was amended back in 1983 to gradually increase the age for collecting full retirement benefits from age 65 to age 67. That change is helping finance the boomers' retirement. What did the trustees fail to anticipate? A much larger chunk of the nation's total income is now going to the top compared to decades ago. But income subject to the Social Security payroll tax is capped. No dollar of earnings above the cap is taxed. The cap in 2023 is $160,200. So as the rich have become far richer, more and more of the nation's total income has escaped the Social Security payroll tax. For example, a CEO earning $20 million a year pays Social Security taxes on roughly 1% of their income, while a worker earning under the cap pays Social Security taxes on 100% of their income. As more of the nation's income has gone to the super rich, logically, a larger share of the nation's income goes untaxed for Social Security. This is why widening inequality has cost the Social Security Trust Fund an estimated $1.4 trillion since 1983. The solution is obvious. It's time to scrap the cap and make the rich pay more in Social Security taxes. One plan introduced in Congress would eliminate the cap on earnings over $250,000 and also subject investment income to Social Security taxes. It's estimated that this would extend the solvency of Social Security for the next 75 years without raising taxes on 93% of American households. This is where you come in. Share this video and help spread the word about the real threat to Social Security and what can be done about it. If we want to ensure Social Security's long-term future and that working people can retire with dignity, we must make the wealthy pay their fair share.
That'll conclude my portion of the
Vincent.
program, Reverend Johnson. Yes.
Yes. We're going to alter the program at this point so that Mary Minor, Reverend Dr. Mary Minor, is going to yield her time so that we can continue this portion of the discussion, and then we will need to circle back to her in our next presentation. All right, she has indicated the importance of the discussion at this point and would like to see it continue and then to have opportunity for feedback.
Got it. Well, I know that we have about 10 minutes left. And I think that there are folks that may be itching to make some comments and have some questions. I want to express my appreciation to Dr. Minor. It was actually Dr. Minor who got me thinking about it when she was at the Raising Cane's protest.
Right.
Because of some of the responses to questions that I had. I said, well, how does the AME Church play in civic engagement? She said, we were founded on the principle of civic engagement.
Yeah.
And of course, being a history major, I understood that. So, but I must say that Dr. Minor was the inspiration for a lot of this discussion. So I think if you don't mind, why don't we open it up for some questions? I know people have been listening and watching passively, and it may be useful for folks to raise their hands and make comments and pose questions. Does that work?
Yes, we certainly want to encourage feedback.
We do have additional videos for folks, but
Right.
want to go to Leanne?
Yes,
Lynn?
can you hear me?
Ellen? Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Wonderful presentation. It definitely has people thinking. A lot of scenarios about people's work history, and a lot of young African Americans are sustained in the hospitality industry. Even younger people, and now older people are sustained in the fast food industry, which SCLC has really pushed the 15-hour with Reverend William Pastor Smart leading the campaign of $15 an hour. Yet, when you factor in for young people, childcare, oftentimes purchasing cars that require repairs, older cars, and so many other factors. We haven't, as your information has stated, we haven't had, there's definitely been disparity in pay and the length of service, and having a pension fund or any type of retirement. Even today for young Black people, there's been a lot of noise and movement about IULs and generational wealth amongst younger generations of African Americans, but that's primarily through insurance companies. And if that works, I don't know, but at least they're looking for something. Another scenario you have is Black folks often have long periods of unemployment, and they don't have the 20-year Social Security or the 30 or 40 that maybe some of our grandparents may have had when we went to HBCUs and we were teachers and stayed in that field. The dynamics of chronic, or what they call long-term unemployment, should be considered with the health disparity. As you said, with our illnesses, we are plagued with higher rates of renal disease and diabetes, and often amputations that keep us from working, not to mention an unfair educational system. So we're already looking at ourselves kind of like a handicap when you play golf. And it is really going to take prayer on top of prayer. And I know if people say, well, God got us through slavery and took us out of that, he will take us out. But it is going to be, we have, you know what, it's hard to imagine, but we have just as many vices working against us collectively. And it's almost like we're still coming out of slavery. But I do appreciate, now the positive side is we are living amongst all of that better than we have ever lived in this country, which is, explain that economically. But I do say, and I follow it with this, we are going to have an entire Black population talking about this, even young people starting finance classes, which they are doing in 6th and 7th grade, and learning how to understand money. We need our younger generations, but we're talking about the older generation and keeping our land. It's so many things, property taxes. It's so many things that are tied into this. And I apologize for taking longer than I should, but I do appreciate this going on, and God bless everyone.
Thank you. Ellen, the financial literacy is going to be increasingly important as we move forward within the African American community. Let me go by what I saw as a show of hands in the order in which I've seen them. Joanne Russell, Dusky, and Nyabingi.
Thank you for this presentation. I appreciate it. My question is that when we tax the rich, going back to what the diagram you showed us with 80% and the 20% from the surplus, will their additional taxes help increase that surplus, or where do we see benefit from doing that tax?
Yes, my understanding is that if you scrapped the cap, the solvency of the Social Security Trust Fund, that is the ability of the trust fund to pay to its beneficiaries 100% of the benefits they are due, will be restored. It will be resolved. The issue will be handled, and will be handled by at least one account, according to this AI generated response, for the next 75 years. All of that will depend in part on what actuaries have to say about the ability of the this insurance program to meet its obligations.
Okay, so that means that they can meet the obligations, but I like the part also where it said that we need to start looking at alternative means for us to generate and grow our own wealth, because like Leon was saying, our employment, but then even when you set up for African Americans, those retirement plans or stuff, when you did it early, life issues happen, you end up dismantling. So I'd love to have the conversation on how we want to build the vehicle we need to. So thank you.
You're welcome. Dusky and then Nyabingi.
Oh, hi. Just quickly, I just want to run down kind of sort of part of the focus of Raising Cane's, and I'm having trouble figuring out, well, how do we be part of the strategy here to fix this stuff, because Republicans had Congress. But our strategy, part of it, is to oppose the cuts that are already happening, and future cuts they threaten. Increase benefits, because I think they're too low. To have the rich pay more, to prevent privatization, to protect Medicare and Medicaid as always, and advocate for senior and others at risk housing, and also because I'm an accountant, along the line of teaching young people about finances. That came to my mind a couple of weeks ago, and so I'm glad that somebody else had come up to the topic. But so I've been writing a couple letters, emails to several elected people, because I don't know where to start. Some help would be great, but what are their plans in Congress? Do they have a plan? They have a strategy. We'd like to be part of the strategy. If they don't have a strategy, I'd like to help. We'd like to help create one, but we sure would like to have an idea where to go, because when our rally is over, I want to send people home with an action plan. This is what we're going to do. This is how we fight to save it. So that's my struggle, is we have all these things that we want to do, but our hands are tied. And how do we help? How do we create a strategy or be part of it? I don't know.
Right. So that's a critical question. Let me submit that one approach is to join an organization, pose that question to the organization, and get at an appropriate response. Of course, everyone on this call is welcome to join the Empowerment Congress, but we don't pretend to be the be-all or end-all or have all of the answers. What we're committed to is providing educational opportunities for folks to be informed with good information, to then figure out how to use that information to engage the system in a way that advances our interests, and in the process empower ourselves. There are other representatives of organizations on this Zoom meeting, and we would encourage them to consider using a similar process. Educate, engage your membership for the purpose of empowering the community. Nyabingi?
Greetings, everyone. Thanks so much for the presentation, Vincent, because AI is playing more of an increasing role in our lives every day. And I've been using it a lot in my organizing and writing, and also the issue of social media. That is a very powerful component that I think is underutilized in the community. LinkedIn is a very powerful networking tool that I have had a lot of success with. And I'm working on the campaign to save MLK Hospital. I've posted a flyer about our meetings. There's people in the community that are part of the Protect Our Seniors campaign that are very frustrated with seeing the funding of MLK being an issue every year, and the importance that the hospital plays in our community cannot be is very important. So I also would like to tie this into the cuts to Medicaid, that the impact that it's having on providers is devastating right now. I think it's more immediate than the crisis facing Social Security. So I would like to see this body take a deeper dive into that, cuts to Medicaid, because that's also affecting MLK Hospital, which the majority of their patients are Medicaid patients. So like I said, we're meeting tonight. I posted a flyer in the chat about it. Our last meeting last Thursday, we had Auntie Maxine and representative from Holly and Mike Gibson's office. So there's a lot of interest in this issue. Thank you.
All right.
There was a question from an individual who didn't have her name listed, but she was on an iPhone and now she's muted and gone off screen.
No, it's me. I'm sorry. I started driving, so I lowered my hand.
Got it.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is kind of repeating about the education, because what I noticed in the presentation when they're saying African American relying on Social Security and don't have a retirement plan, well, most of them, when they start working, get that retirement plan, but God forbid something happen. And what they do is, which I'm experiencing with one of my own children, that they pull their retirement out and they use that money to help with the situation at hand. And then when it comes time to retire, they don't have the money, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm a step above, right there at it. Whereas I stayed home with my children and didn't work a lot. But then when I started working, I did start the 401k and again, insurance company, got in touch with someone, got a financial planner and start putting money away and stuff. But I'm not where I should be, right? But I'm not at zero either. So if we can get that education and showing the young adults and some older adults that pulling your retirement to do this or that sometimes is not a good idea, because at the end of the day, when you rely on Social Security, even though that's money we made and put into the system, the government still handle it. That's
one of the challenges that we have is to understand the interconnection and interrelationship of public policy to our own well-being, and to illustrate in concrete, tangible terms how public policy decisions impact us. One of the things the big bill did was alter significantly efforts that the Biden administration had undertaken in order to address college student indebtedness. And as a result of the changes that were made, a college student that's graduating right now with a certain level of debt, who may be earning upwards of $80,000 a year. Now that's only $38 an hour, by the way. That amount of money, they will now have to pay an additional $244 on average per month to service their student debt. So they are servicing their student debt $244 more than they would have under Biden's plan. That $244 could be used to fund retirement. And a $244 per month contribution to a retirement plan that earns 7% beginning at age 25 for 10 years would result in $44,000. If they made no additional contributions to a 401k and continued to earn that 7% until they were age 65, they'd be walking away with upwards of $350,000 in their retirement account, just based on that 10-year long investment of $244 a month. If they started making a $244 a month contribution at age 35, they miss the compound interest earnings and would wind up at age 65 with only $271,000.
Mm-hmm.
So this business about financial literacy is important, it's critical, but we also have to understand how public policy and how the decisions that are made by elected officials impact us personally and directly with regard to our own financial futures and our capacity to secure our retirement, generate wealth, and use that wealth in ways that can advance the futures of our progeny, the next generation. Are there any additional questions? I know that we had a stop at 11:30. I apologize as one of the organizers of this that we didn't get to all of the presentation. I know that we had Dr. Mike ready to discuss the historic role of the African American church in these discussions. And we saw it as being critically important for the community to, for the church to assert its leadership on questions like this. If there are three takeaways that we would want you to have from this presentation, they are as follows with regard to Social Security. We must sustain Social Security as a critical anchor of the social safety net. So we have to sustain. We have to maintain the existing benefits and ensure that the system remains solvent so that by 2033, 2034, when the Social Security surplus runs out, we don't have to accept a 77 to 80% cut in benefits. And finally, we have to sustain the system so that the promise of Social Security and the role it plays in our social contract, where all of us pitch in to serve the least of those, to protect the least, the most vulnerable in society, do so. So we have to retain, maintain, and sustain. Dusky, did you have another?
I just wanted to mention that for those I've given out flyers, but don't have ways to contact a lot of people because of my hip, whatever, in the hospital. The rally on Saturday, Raising Cane's, is going to be postponed a couple of weeks. So please don't show up on Saturday. And then I put in the comment in the chat section a link to, we finally have our reparations speaker, Madla Kaisi from Commissioner of Civil Human Rights and Equity Department for City of Los Angeles, is speaking at our monthly meeting on next Thursday. So I put that link in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Ridley Thomas, I see you have your hand up.
Thanks very much to all who participated. This is an appropriate and important way to mark the anniversary of Social Security as a economic justice feature of what it means to live in an advanced democracy. Having said that, I think we should give Vincent Harris a big round of applause for his leadership and his thought processes to help us greater.
Thank you, Vincent.
Thank you.
Same for Pastor Johnson, and as well as Dr. Minor and Bishop Smith for their constant support and involvement. Our mantra remains unchanged. We educate, we engage, and we empower. And it takes all of us to do that. So once again, I simply want to say thank you
for your interest, your involvement, and your capacity and commitment to engage. Thanks, Vincent.
You're welcome. Reverend Johnson, the program is yours.
Well, I'm going to bring it to conclusion then. As we indicated earlier when we started, that this was a work in progress. We're going to learn in terms of the use of the technology as a part of presentations that we will have in the future, because this is not a one-time shot. We want to continually engage in educating communities, and we want to hopefully, and I shared with Pastor Minor, Dr. Minor, that we want to see about getting this kind of presentation into churches and into our denominational bodies, because it just serves an important function for us. Very important function. So, Vincent, we thank you for your leadership on this and your creativity and commitment to us having an event that marks the 90th anniversary of the Social Security Act. And so that's my concluding statement. More to come, and we look forward to continued conversation.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
We will produce a follow-up email with resources and information from this particular meeting, potentially including the recording or an edited version of it. And the next opportunity for folks to engage this topic will be the Empowerment Congress Government Reform Working Group meeting on Tuesday, August the 2nd at 6 p.m.
I don't think Tuesday, August the 2nd, you didn't mean that, did you?
September the 2nd.
Yeah.
That's right.
You could do a lot of things, but not turn back time, you know?
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
Don't worry, we're going to get you your Social Security in a timely manner. At 90, Social Security needs Social Security. Let's walk with that. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
All right.
All right.
Peace.
Bye, blessings, everyone.
Bye, Mark.
Peace and blessings.
Hi. What was that?
Loretta, how you doing?
Doing the best I can. How are you?
Good, thanks. Nice surprise.